introduce you properly. Setting up. I never know at what point it actually goes live.
But that's the suspense.
Yeah, but earlier than in actual fact it does. So, it's live now. I would like to welcome Esbjörn Hogmark, the amazing, the awesome, the outstanding Esbjörn for World Nyckelharpa Day 2026, and also Åsa, who's also just as amazing. I will hand over to you now.
Yes, happy World Nyckelharpa Day to you all. Greetings from Julby.
And thank you, Vicky, for bringing us here in this thing. Good one.
So we start with music.
We start now. So hello everybody all over the world. It's amazing. My name is Esbjörn Hogmark, as you already know, and I was born in Österbybruk, which is about 10 kilometers from where I am situated now. And I grew up there, and my father was a school teacher, which means that you could play an instrument. You should almost play an instrument. My two sisters played the piano. Me and my twin brother Sture, we chose the fiddle, the violin. So I have been playing violin from when I was 10 until I was 12, and then we had to give back the instruments to the school. But in my high school time in Uppsala, from 1961 to 1964, we played again. We started to play, and we formed a little gammeldans orchestra. We were 3 fiddlers, 2 accordions, and 1 guitar player. And we played at the school dances. But we were only allowed to play in the breaks, in the pause. Anyway, time went on. We went to the university after the high school, and we also had 1 year at the local steel mill in Österbybruk, which was a very good year. And then we started to study engineering in Uppsala University, and we graduated 1970. And that was a time when there was a revival for folk, traditional folk music all over Europe, and it struck Sweden some years before 1970. And some years later there was a revival for the Nyckelharpa in Österbybruk, and some other places also, but Österbybruk became a center for the Nyckelharpa quite early. And there was a man, he bought an instrument from Erik Sahlström. I will talk a little bit more about him later, but Erik Sahlström, he was the outstanding Nyckelharpa fiddler of all times. And it's very much thanks to him that this revival of the Nyckelharpa struck so hard. So there were evening courses, first around Uppland in Uppsala, down in Stockholm, and later all over Sweden. You could go and learn how to build your own instrument. I won't say it was hundreds of these courses, but maybe 40, 50 spread. And that made, during that period, maybe 10,000 instruments were made, maybe even more, and people started to learn how to play, also with this kind of evening courses, which were paid by the Swedish government as a cultural funding something. Anyway, I think I shall start this presentation by talking a little bit about the history of the instrument. Behind me I have a lot of old and new made instruments. I will show. We can start with the oldest Nyckelharpa we know about, except from the Mora-harpa, which we think is not that old as many people think it is. But that's a different story. Here I have one of the most well-preserved contrabass Nyckelharpa, dated till about 1750 to 1780, something there. There was obviously a maker who had a very high quality, because I have seen maybe 5-6 instruments made by this maker, and they are all in the shape of being played today. So very little has been removed and substituted on this instrument. I can say only some of the tangents here was changed by Hasse Gille. I think it was 2008 he had this instrument for service and tuned it up. And I can say that I had to make a copy of this. It's so precious, so we don't use it when we travel around. So this is a copy of that instrument, as close to the original as I could do. Every ornament is in this instrument. The difference of weight is less than 100 gram. I think mine is a little bit heavier, in fact. The weight is about 1.3 kilo. Oh. And you know maybe that why are there a cover, a lid on the key box? That's because we think that the key box was taken from a hurdy-gurdy, sometimes maybe in the middle of 1600. The first Nyckelharpa shows up in the middle of 16, maybe even a little bit earlier. maybe 1620 and so. And from that time on, the Nyckelharpa has been played mostly in the northeast part of Uppland, or province of Uppland. And no interruption, it has been played on and on. And new instrument has been made, new fiddler has been born and so on in tradition. And the instrument kept this shape, the idea of hollowing out a log of spruce and make the top quite curved, aptly curved, following the ear rings. The core of the log is here and the ear rings goes like this, and the top follow the ear rings, and it's also hollowed out from a piece of a log. The key box and the keys are made in birch. The tail piece here, the bridge, the nut, the screws, I used to use maple. Åsa ska ta en liten trudelutt på den där. See if we can hear something. Jag kan ta originalet här. Du sjunger på det här. Jag ska vika ner kameran lite.
Well, a tune from Österbybruk.
Vi går vidare. The contrabass was from, I would say, end of 1600. It was a peak of quality of this instrument during the mid of 1700. But on the instrument, people made it all the way until maybe 1930, the last maker and player. But sometimes people say it was 1850 that come another instrument with the same kind of body, silverbassharpan. And the difference of this instrument from the contrabass is the key box, the set of keys. and the number of melody strings. Suddenly there are two separate melody strings, and I think that the smart thing with the contrabass was that there were tangents, more than one tangents on each key, a bit up on the key box, and there was one string tuned in a D and one in an A. This has also a string in A, but the other melody in C, and a drone. Contrabass also had drone, which is a continuously sounding note string, and drone strings can be tuned differently depending on what key you play your songs in. If it's in G or C, you can tune it in G. If it's D and A, you can tune it in A. Typical for the contrabass, there were two basic tunings, A or G, on the drone string. But the silver bass has also a bass string tuned in the low C. And the drone here, I think, is a G, and this melody C and an A. Oh. Oh. Vi kan visa Bolins också sen då. We should take a little jump in the history. I have a silver bass here made by a man, Johan Bolin, around 1900 even. The same body, it's still a full spruce body, very much rounded here for the hand to easily slide up to the key box. And the same tuning. And Janne Bolin, Janne, he was called Janne. He had a son, August Bolin, and he also started to make Nyckelharpa. He was a very good fiddler. He played the violin. So I have one of his he made quite many of these, and he is the father of the 3-row chromatic Nyckelharpa. I don't play this because the lid has sagged a little bit. I'm afraid to hurt it if I tune it up. So, but what interesting with this is from 1947, and August Bolin died 2 years later. So this is one of his last instrument. But if I have been looking on many of these instruments, and they look more or less the same. He didn't do any change from, I would say, 1925 was the first of this kind of instrument, and suddenly you can play full chromatic with any kind of double stops. No key has more than one tangents, so it's free to make chords and ornaments and whatever. Ska vi ta, jag tänkte, nu ska jag ta den här, den kan jag ta. Se om jag kan ta en liten. This is a Nyckelharpa that Erik Sahlström made, which is the very first instrument, this 3-row. He just copied August Bolin's idea. It's from 1937. It's the very first 3-row chromatic. I have done some repair on this one. See if I have another ball. Dåligt med harts på den där. We will see soon that we haven't done so much, we haven't changed so much from this instrument. One interesting thing is this very round bottom on the neck connection here. Very easy for the hand to slide up to the key box. And but a lot of wooden screws, wooden pegs for the resonant sympathetic strings still under the neck, and they comes under the bridge and under the key box. And Sahlström, I think he made sympathetic strings under the key box all the way to 1968 or 65 or so. Then he had everyone moved up on top of the bridge. Vad ska vi hitta på mer? I think that the key, the peg head here, is very much a copy of August Bolin. And Erik Sahlström made a lot of experiments. He tried many times not using any kind of metal tuner like this. This is a mandolin 4x4. And he definitely didn't use any cello tuners on the tailpiece like we do today. So what we have done, I can show one of my instruments. I like this very much rounded part here to come up. We work today in a kind of a Nyckelharpa community where players and makers meet regularly and discuss what can we improve. We have bring down the weight. I would say that this instrument's weight between, I would say 1.6 to 1.8 kilo. And we have these cello tuners on the tailpiece. We make the tailpiece very slimmed because we don't need to have a lot of wood on the tailpiece. It's just the force is a pure tension, and maple is a very strong wood for tensions. And we make the keys in birch tree. Birch is a little bit softer than maple, which makes the key box a little bit more silent, not so much rattling of the keys. But the tangents and sen där, håller den där bredvid. If I have these two, you can see it's exactly the amount of keys on each row, like Erik Sahlström had 37, which means it's 7 on the G string, 10 on the A string, on the C string, and depending on if we really want all the 7 notes up here. Jag tror inte han hade det, nej. Vi tar någon mer på den här då. Du med då kanske? We have to play another song now. This is the Uppland Polska, and we have been trying to keep the rhythm of this song, and when we come outside Sweden we can hear that it's not so easy to understand at least what we think is a more or less correct rhythm. I have a tune I used to play that I think really shows the rhythm. Som jag bara kommer på den där dala. Jag ska ställa mig upp då så att jag syns. I have to stand up so you can see my instrument. This is just called the Trollpolskan, a Dalarna tune. You can say it's a Rättvik rhythm. I try to play a Rättvik rhythm. has happened to the Nyckelharpa after Erik Sahlström? That's a question I often want to answer. People ask me to answer. And what have we done? We have started the Memorial Foundation. We have started the Music Institute, Erik Sahlström Institute. And we have run an awful lot of courses, playing courses, 1 year, summer courses, weekends and so on in playing. But also we have made distance education in Nyckelharpa making. There are no evening courses like was on the 1970, 80 and 90. They totally disappeared in 2000. So today we try to keep this tradition with seminars. We have 2 seminars every year at the Institute, Erik Sahlström. We called it the winter seminar and the master seminar. So in June, in the 11 and 12 of June, there will be the master seminar of 2026. And what have we done more? We have, I say we, some people, they want to try some other kind of designs of instruments. Down in Europe they have other ideas about how to use the Nyckelharpa. They play more in big groups. They play kind of ensembles play, where they play first, second melody and so on, even more. They play often from notes, from sheet music. In the Nordic countries we are known not to play so much. We learn by ear. But we still try, in the Nordic country, in Sweden, we still try to keep the Erik Sahlström design as the main type of instruments. What we do is that we try to do some minor modifications. We put these cello tuners on the tailpiece, and we have carefully chosen sympathetic strings to balance the whole sound of the instrument. And I will come back to the sound of the instrument, which is very special. But first I will show an instrument that is a kind of, I don't want to call it a development, but it's an adaptation to people who played the violin before they started to play the Nyckelharpa. And that is a Nyckelharpa, which is a little bit smaller than the traditional, which has 400 mansur. This has 375. Kort.
We had a bunch of American people here just some days ago, so they tried our instruments. So
they were 12 years and up.
So we have to adjust our Nyckelharpa balance.
It's quint tuning. E string, A, D and a G. And it's quite narrow neck. It's 85 millimeter wide. And the instrument weigh about 1.4 kilo or so. Included all these mechanisms. It's still 12 guitar and cello here. So I try some. We had a player in Sweden, a fiddler, Viksta Lasse. Jag tar hans Eklunda polska. This is called the Eklunda polska. Nej, den polska till vik heter den. We also make bigger octave tuned with a mansur of 510 millimeter. I'm not so used to play on this. Jag vet inte om du, Åsa, maybe can you take some so we can hear the sound? That's the cello. If you compare to the
bad tuning, I think. I have to tune it. You have to.
we do something else.
You can talk. And
I can talk. I was going to say something about this intangible cultural heritage, but I have to find my glasses. You remember that the Nyckelharpa during 2000, year 2000, some parliament people thought that why don't we bring the Nyckelharpa to be a national instrument of Sweden? We can take a parliament decision on that. So people made proposals and that was all the way up to the parliament in Sweden. But they said, no, we were not going to do that because it's not so good if we will make the instrument in a way cemented. It's better to have it like it is today, that you can change it and can do whatever you want. I just go down and sit there. Anyway, I wrote a paper here because after year 2000 there was a discussion about cultural heritage. You know, we have this world heritage. The nation, what is it? United Nations and the Department of UNESCO. They work with these kind of objects. World heritage is more or less solid buildings, but it can be also part of nature. Nature, we have in Sweden, we have the Sjaunja marsh area. We have Visby Mauer Ringmur as a solid world heritage. I think we have quite many world heritage in Sweden, but it was controlled of a convention that came out 1972. The first draft of that convention was from 1954, after the Second World War. But there has been discussions on and off. Why don't we make a convention for the living traditions? Storytelling, music, melodies, handicraft. So 2003 UNESCO issued the new Convention of Intangible Cultural Heritage. And there was a man that I was a friend of. He came to me and said, now Hogmark, now we have a new convention. You have to apply with the Nyckelharpa. And but it wasn't so easy. The bureaucracy in Sweden goes very, very slow. So 2012 we had the first meeting controlled by an organization that was chosen by the government to take care of these Swedish living traditions. We had that 2012 in Tobo at the Folk Institute, and I had as a suggestion, so we worked with, as an example, the Nyckelharpa, and another guy, he had the Polska, the Swedish and the Nordic Polska. And there were quite many people there, but nobody else came up with an idea, so we were the only two people that had an idea to work with. But time went on and nothing happened until some years later people started to come up with ideas of what can we register as an intangible cultural heritage. And this organization, Language in Göteborg, got an assignment from the government and got a lot of money, some million Swedish kronor, just to control all this. And they also translated from English to Swedish these forms that you had to fill in and what you should think about, and tutorials and things like that are available. So I started to work on that. I think it was 2020. But very early in this process, I really understand we don't have enough written documentation about the Nyckelharpa. So that I had to do that myself. So I made this book. I think many of you have it. Of course it is written in Swedish, but with the modern technology you have in your mobile phones, you can immediately, easily translate to any language. And it's a book. It takes the history. Here you can see the instruments from the very beginning, and here you can see the idea of having some of the final, what we are today, current. And the book is divided in 3 parts. The green part, which is about how it is spread. the Nordic seminars in folk instruments we have here, and also what is going on at the institute. It's a lot of pictures. In fact, it's more than 1,700 pictures, and some pictures cover a whole page. Here we have a full page picture. I think it's from Nyckelharpsstämman in Österbybruk. What is it, year 2002, I think, 2 or 1. So many of these fiddlers, young fiddlers, are still playing. Some is dead, of course. Yeah, and then I have the blue part of the book is here is a chapter, Nyckelharpa for children. What shall we think about to be able to make good instruments so our children like to continue to play? I have here a children-sized. It has string length is 340, but it has exactly the same set of keys and the drone strings and everything. If you look carefully, you can see this is for a link-handed person. So that's I made for our young son. The most important part in the book might be the red part, how to make, step by step, how to make a quality Nyckelharpa, the standard, and how to make this violin and also the big one. And it's a lot of pictures. Pictures are taken so that you can easily use regular D3, take a measure on the picture, and you know that the mensur is 400, and then you can within a millimeter or so take every dimension directly from the picture. Yeah, 2020 in December I gave out the book. But the work to get this intangible heritage accepted by UNESCO took another 3 years. 2001, I got some documents from Swedish evaluation groups saying that the Nyckelharpa is a strong example of how a marginal and nearly extinct phenomenon can gain wings. Older instruments are preserved and newly manufactured. The modern Nyckelharpa has been refined and modified and formed a family analogous to the violin. The Nyckelharpa network is driven by the practitioners themselves. That means that you are in this network as a practitioner when you play and you look at this, what you are doing now. And there was a funny sentence in the end of the evaluation. The aesthetic impact that comes from the instrument's technical capabilities and its special sound is the most compelling explanation for the instrument's success story. Det är intressant att people get so impressed by the instrument with all these buttons. It looks very complicated. For us, already in this business, we don't think it's so complicated, but maybe. And I remember that I tried looking all over the world. I couldn't find. Some people told me maybe you can have some bowed keyed instruments in India, but there wasn't. So there was an application sent into the UNESCO which was the headline is Nyckelharpa Network, an innovative dissemination of a music and instrument building tradition with roots in Sweden. That's the name of the intangible cultural heritage. As a program, project or activity best reflecting the principles and objectives of the convention upon the proposals of Sweden. So this kind of intangible heritage belongs to a group which has designated best practices, and they say that it best reflects the whole principle. And the reason is that it is easy for other people, other countries to learn how to bring up their intangible cultural heritage by copying what we did in Sweden. First write a book, then try to get all the communities involved to agree upon that we should have this done. So the 6th of December 2023 in Kasane in Botswana, the decision was taken by the, what is it called? The committee in vad säger man? Mellanstatliga kommittén, vad heter det?
Interstate committee.
Ja, there is a committee in this UNESCO that they changed the members. It's about 30-40 members. They change them every year so it's very flexible. But they took the decision of the Nyckelharpa. So now Sweden, we have 2 of this category, of this best practices category. That is the storytelling network in Småland and the Nyckelharpa network. Finland has one, which is a boat, osäljbar boat. The building tradition of the boat, the sailing and using of the boat. Finland has so far not any in this category, but they have the bastu, sauna. They have the sauna, they have the fiddle tradition in Kaustinen. Ja, ska vi ta någon sista?
Ska vi ta Österby?
Ja.
Nyckelharpa.
Ja. We have to play a final Österby tune. Claes Harpare, he was active at the Midsummer festivals in Österbybruk, and he had a march, and we will play that. Nej, på mål.
I have the big one.
Då.
Nej, det är högre upp. heritage is that all playing the Nyckelharpa is part of this tradition. And please keep playing and spreading the good Nyckelharpa virus.
Hinner vi med en till? Jag har 5 minuter kvar nästan. Vi måste ta en salströmmare.
So, we have some minutes left, so we take yes, we take the avskedsgånglåten, the farewell tune made by Erik Sahlström.
Thank you so much, Åsa and Esbjörn. That was amazing. Thank you. Tack så väldigt mycket. Tack.
You're welcome.
I'm going to stop the live stream now.